So good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome and thank the members of the media who are here with us in Door Chapel for the press conference this afternoon. A written press release has been distributed already, but if anyone still needs a hard copy of it, we have additional hard copies and we can provide that to you today. I also hope that it's all right. I'd like to make a brief opening statement. And then there were some questions that were submitted prior to the press conference. I'll start and answer those, but then I'll also take additional questions from any of the rest of you who are here. Is that all right with everyone? Okay. The Fontbonne University Board of Trustees has voted to declare financial exigency and cease operations after the summer 2025 term. This means that Fontbonne will not be admitting new students for the fall 2024 semester. Earlier today, I met first with the faculty and the staff to share this difficult news, and then with our student body. As you might imagine, the campus community is grieving as members process this announcement. We are grateful to Washington University for entering into an agreement to acquire the 16-acre Clayton campus of Fontbonne University in the coming months. Because of this partnership with Washington University, Fontbonne will have the resources to continue to teach classes through summer of 2025. This arrangement will enable many students who are currently on campus to complete their degrees and graduate while providing employment for many of our staff and faculty. In addition to assisting students in completing their coursework on campus, the university will provide scholarships to all undergraduate students for the summer 2024 and summer 2025 sessions to cover the cost of tuition. Students pursuing a master's degree will be offered a reduced tuition rate to help them take additional coursework as well. As we transition to closing, we are committed to assisting all of our current students to achieve their dream of obtaining a college degree. Many of our upper class students will be able to graduate from Fontbonne if they choose to do so. For students who are unable or choose not to complete their course of study at Fontbonne, we are developing teach-out agreements with institutions that offer each of our degree programs. Each student will be individually advised to help determine the best path forward toward graduating with a college degree. The decision to close was not made without thorough consideration of many alternative strategies. All options to partner and to achieve a sustainable budget were explored thoroughly. Ultimately, with more than a decade of declining enrollments and budget shortfalls, a small endowment, and no way to balance the budget in the foreseeable future, closing the university was the only responsible choice. For more than 100 years, Fontbonne has served students from St. Louis, the region, and beyond in achieving an excellent education in a faith-based environment. It's heartbreaking for me to deliver this message, especially when I spoke with our current students and knowing our prospective students, our faithful supporters, our loyal alums, the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet who founded the university in 1923, and our dedicated faculty and staff. When I returned to Fontbonne in 2020 as its 15th president, I knew that there were significant financial challenges. I came prepared to work hard and to try to change the trajectory of an institution that was in dire financial circumstances. But despite the best efforts of so many on the campus, the challenges facing small tuition-dependent institutions today proved insurmountable. Along with so many others, I mourn the loss of a proud institution, the dream of the sisters who founded Fontbonne, and the alma mater of almost 20,000 alums. And so at this point, I've concluded my remarks, but there were about a half a dozen questions that were already submitted, so I'll read the question and then answer, and then I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have or to expound upon my answers if you would like me to do that. So the first question that came in for me was, when did the board vote to close the university? That vote took place on Sunday, March the 10th, so just yesterday. In December, the university said it made cuts to academic programs and positions in order to be financially sustainable. What happened between now and then to make the university unsustainable? Okay, there are two things really, I guess, that I would say happened. One was that we were in a series of conversations with potential partners to talk about strategic alliances, to talk about the possibility of merger or acquisition, and all of those possibilities, of which there were many, were not successful. The second thing that happened was, because of the press coverage that occurred with regard to retrenchment, our regional accreditors, the Higher Learning Commission, requested that we provide a provisional plan for the programs that were closing, which we did. But they came back to us last month and they said that in addition we would need to provide provisional program for all of our programs, even those that were not slated to close. And along with that comes the regulation that we were no longer able to admit new students. So once that happened, we knew that the sustainability of the future was not a possibility. Another question that was submitted: how long has Fontbonne been in talks with Washington University about selling the campus? That happened very recently, and those talks began very late in 2023, in December, and continued until we signed a purchase-sale agreement over the weekend, this past weekend. Another question asked, what is the total of Fontbonne's current endowment and where will those funds go? The current endowment roughly is $9 million. Donors gave that money basically for student scholarships, and that is exactly what the money will be used for, to assist students to be able to continue and hopefully finish their education here at Fontbonne. Another question asked, how many students are eligible to have their loans discharged because Fontbonne is closing? All students who don't complete their programs within 6 months of closing are automatically entitled to such a discharge. But it's really too early to know how many students those will be, the number, because we're still teaching students and we will until the end, so I can't really answer that completely. One of the questions asked, what will happen to the Center for Bosnian Studies? I'm very happy to say that we're in conversation with another St. Louis institution that's very interested in maintaining our collection, but the final details have not yet been confirmed, and so I can't speak specifically to that, but I think I'll be able to talk more about that in the coming days. Two last questions, and then I'll take your questions. One question about how many total employees we have at Fontbonne. We currently have 59 full-time faculty and 86 full-time staff. We have approximately 100 adjuncts who are skilled professionals who teach for us in a variety of disciplines, mainly who live here in St. Louis. And the last question is, will Dr. Blattner or any other employees receive severance packages? We plan to offer severance packages to all of our staff members, so the answer to that would be yes for all staff, okay? And that's the extent of the questions that I received prior to our press conference. So at this point, and I'm a novice, I really am not used to all these cameras and mics. I'll try to be collaborative and allow everyone to ask questions, but if you'll let me know, I'll be happy to answer. Yes, please.
Yeah, so with Washington University buying this part of the campus, would there be a chance for students to transfer to WashU if they don't finish, or would there be some kind of collaborative effort there for them?
You know, at this point, okay, and I can't say what might evolve, but at this point it's really a purchase of the property itself. And I should have mentioned to you that WashU is going to lease back the property to us for a very reasonable amount for our last year of operation. We haven't really talked to them about the possibility of students or programs, but we're open to talking with many different institutions because we want to ensure that our students are able to complete their educations, and many of them are St. Louis residents. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't have anything at this point that I can share.
Can you talk specifically to students who are just probably, wowed by this news? Is there a way that you can ease some of their worries and concerns? As a college student probably coming in, thinking they're going to be here for a certain amount of years, and this came up. So how will you ease some of the worries of some of these students?
This is 46 years for me in higher education, and I told the students when I spoke to them today, because I called the students together, and I said the very best joy of those years is the fact that I engage with students because I love them. I love our students. And it broke my heart when I looked out on the bleachers and I saw some of them crying and embracing each other, as you might expect, because they love Fontbonne like I do. What I tried to say to them was, this may be that your dream of graduating from Fontbonne can't be realized, but your dream of getting a college education, a college degree, can. And we're going to help you in every way we can to ensure that if you're able to graduate and you want to graduate from Fontbonne, we're going to try to make that possible. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment if I can. But if that's not possible for our freshmen, for example, because that would be very difficult to do with 1 year, full year left, then we want to help them find an institution where they'll feel at home, where they feel there's a good fit that has their program and that will accept them so that they can achieve that degree. Because for many of our students, they are first generation, they're Pell eligible, they're coming from families that are socioeconomically challenged, they're very diverse. And I really resonate with that because my own parents only had an 8th grade education, so I really want our students to feel comfortable where they go to school. One of the things that I've already alluded to is the fact that for the next 2 summers, undergraduate students can take all of their courses basically for free because we're going to scholarship them for tuition, and I think that's helpful. They'll have individualized plans so that if they want to graduate from here and can, they will sit down with their advisors or with their faculty members and they will plot out semester by semester courses so that they can finish by the end of next summer. And I think that will take care of the juniors and seniors and frankly some of the sophomores that we have. But for the freshmen and the other sophomores, we'll have to find a transfer path for them or a teach-out partner that will take them and allow them to complete their dream of achieving an education. Teach-out agreements, and maybe you all know this, but they're a special type of transfer where the receiving institution agrees to take students. It's sort of a protection to students. They will allow them to graduate with the same number of credits. They will take all of their credits toward their degree. They will generally agree that the cost of attendance would be the same as what it would have been here, so there are no additional out-of-pocket expenses. And that's something that we want to provide for our students because it helps to safeguard them and make that dream a reality. Does that help to answer your question? Thank you. And thank you for asking because our students truly are at the heart of what we want to do here and who we want to protect. Thank you.
Do you have a rough estimate for how many students it's actually possible for them to graduate before that deadline?
So my understanding is that after commencement this May, we will have about 617 students that have not graduated. And that encompasses both graduate students and undergraduate students. I think right now we have a total of 874 students, and I'm looking at my numbers because I don't want to misspeak, and 650 of those are undergraduate and 224 are graduate. So some number of the graduate and undergraduate students will be able to matriculate. They'll go through commencement in May. Of the 617, I would hope maybe half of them or more could graduate if they choose to stay here. But, some of our students come from other states, some of them want to play sports, and some of those decisions are just up in the air yet. So I'm not sure how many of them are going to choose to stay here, and that's their choice. Sure.
You mentioned sports. Would a lot of those programs continue, or are there more cuts to be made through the sports team?
I'm very hopeful that we'll have a robust offering of athletic teams. We have wonderful student athletes, and our teams have been very successful. Our coaches are very dedicated. But I think everyone just found out today, including our staff and faculty, so they need to meet as teams and talk about, what the possibilities are for them to field a team for next season, next year. And I don't know the answer to that yet. I think there will definitely be some, yes. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Dr. Blattner mentioned declining enrollment. Can you give a better sense of the extent of that decline? What do you think might be going on there?
Sure. So some of you know that I was here once before as the academic vice president from 2004 to 2009. So I'll give you the marker of what the enrollment was when I left and what it was when I came back. And that's not an indication of I left and people left. It's just the time frame, okay? So I left in 2009 to become the president of Caldwell University in New Jersey. It's another Catholic institution. And when I left, we had 2,976 students. When I came back, we had about 95 or something like that. I mean, there had been a precipitous drop. And so that drop continued. And I think what's happened is several things. One, I think there's definitely a demographic cliff, and the Midwest and the Northeast are hitting that sooner than other parts of the country that still see enrollment growth. I think that for the first time in my life, people are questioning the value of higher education, which I never ever anticipated, given that I came from a family that did not have the opportunity for higher education, and I see how important an education is personally as well as for the students that we educate. I also think that it's difficult for people to meet the needs of tuition, and that many students and their families are no longer willing to go into debt and take out loans, which I understand because the economy has been so unpredictable. So, you know, we are not alone in that, and I don't know if somebody's here from the Post-Dispatch or not. Do we have a Post-Dispatch person? Okay. You ran a story today. I don't remember, not you personally, but the Post ran a story. It was maybe on page 5 or page 7. It was a full-page story about what's happening to enrollments in small faith-based institutions. And I found that very coincidental given what was going to happen on our campus today. And it really spoke to the fact that there's this decline in demographics, that people are unable to pay the cost, that there's been deferred maintenance. I mean, just so many things that are happening to combine together. It was a wonderful article, by the way. I think Bloomberg put it out and you picked it up, and it was very informative. What else can I answer for you?
I guess for the teachers, they're probably worried too.
Sure.
Will there be some kind of similar teach outs as for the students or similar agreements with universities?
So, you know, teachers have more of a protection than staff in that full-time faculty get year-long contracts. So normally those are issued in April, but we're going to issue those this week so that faculty have in their hands a contract for the next year of teaching. And that gives them time to find other positions. You know, I've already had some outreach just since the announcement was made earlier that there are some schools that are looking to partner with some of our programs, or they're interested in our programs. And if they're interested in our programs, they may be interested in our faculty, and we would certainly try to help that transition. But there isn't that kind of a funnel where faculty go from one place to another during a closure like this. Yeah, good question.
For those 617 that you mentioned, is there any chance that they think I'm going to stay here, I'm going to graduate here, and then all of a sudden, you know, 6 months later, their department is closed? Is that possible?
No. I mean, no, I don't anticipate that as a possibility because, you know, we are very fortunate that two things. One, we have relatively low debt as an institution, so that's been a positive. And with the purchase sale agreement with WashU, we're able to pay off that debt, and we know that even conservatively we can operate until and through next summer, which I think is a plus. You know, secondly, because we are in St. Louis, we are really blessed to be surrounded by people who are very well credentialed, who can teach as adjuncts. And as long as they have the appropriate terminal degrees and can teach in disciplines, we'll be able to draw on a very large group of people to teach, even if they aren't all full-time here. And we use adjuncts now because there's so many different areas of specialization, and adjuncts really add to the mix and bring a professional flavor where they're working in the field and they bring that to the classroom. So we'll continue to do that. No, I don't anticipate that happening at all, but thank you for asking.
You mentioned other schools in the region. What does the loss of Fontbonne mean for the region as a whole?
You know what I think the loss Fontbonne means to the region, and that's the question I really love, is that, you know, Fontbonne is a university, and it's a workplace, but it's a community, it's a family, and I think what will be lost is that feeling of support where people know each other. You know, the students, I know their names, and they come to my office and they talk about they just got a job or they just got an internship, and they're so excited about that. And I don't think they think it's the least bit unusual that they can do that to all of my vice presidents or anyone else on campus. I think what's going to be lost, the students will find a place, but they're not going to find necessarily a place quite like Fontbonne, where there's that community and family feeling. I think that will be something that St. Louis will miss. Yeah.
And how are you doing with all this?
Well, thank you for asking. You know, I guess I hope I seemed a little bit together, but, you know, I cried when I talked to the faculty and staff earlier today. I broke down when I talked to the students, and I watched them. My husband and I have 2 grandchildren who are students here, and they were in the audience and didn't know that this announcement was being made, and I tried not to watch their faces because that was personal for me too. I never anticipated that I would close a university because I came back to Fontbonne because I loved it so very much when I left here. And the lessons that I learned here the first time for 5 years were, I think, what enabled me to be successful at Caldwell for 11 years as a president. So I have shed a lot of tears, not in public always, but in private. It's a sad way for me to end a career that's very long in higher education, and yet I feel that I'm in the right place to try to help as many people as possible come to a dignified conclusion. So thank you for asking that. It's hard, and you know, I say my husband should be canonized because he lives with me when I come home, and I have difficult days, but I work with great people. I have an incredibly great staff that have worked so hard, and we all support each other, and I think that's made it better for something that's difficult. Anything else? Tell me. I want to answer your questions.
I hate to ask this after such a difficult one, but
Ask it. It's all right.
I know that the statements released today mentioned how Fontbonne could escape its financial position. Can you?
I'm sorry. I don't know about that.
Sorry. Well, they could. It alluded to just running out of the endowment, basically. And so, can you talk? Is that mostly due to declining enrollment? Do you think? Like, can you talk a little bit about what led to this decision?
You mean how we came to the financial position that we're in today? Sure. Okay, I want to be kind. I'm not talking about your question. I'm trying to frame this in a way. You know, I think that Fontbonne for a number of years relied increasingly on being able to draw from the endowment to meet operational shortfalls. And when that began to happen, when we still had 3,000 students, you can imagine that when we were down to 1,000 or fewer, that was going to increase, right? Because our revenue really only comes from student tuition or from in the endowment. So the financial concerns were complicated too by the fact that this is a 100-year-old campus. This building that we're in and the two that flank it are 100 years old. And they have 100-year-old problems. If any of you have ever lived in older homes that you've renovated, the upkeep can be significant, and we invested some in the campus to ensure that students had a good quality of life, and faculty and staff as well. I think that sometimes you just can't continue to increase tuition for students that are financially strapped. It's not ethically right to do that. And so we had to grapple with that as well. And so ultimately, you know, when the expenses continued to rise and the revenues didn't, you run into a position where you just can't continue. Does that help? Okay. It's a fair question.
I have a question. I spoke with a few students earlier today who were concerned about coming back to campus and maybe losing achievements and awards and plaques that are hung on the walls here. Do you know if Washington University has any plans to keep buildings up?
So 2 questions there, really. So first of all, you know, I kind of envision that when we close the doors next August, that, and I've agreed that even though I was going to retire, I'm going to stay and make sure that there's an orderly closure. And I kind of envision going around to every spot on the campus, which if you can imagine that, and finding all of those plaques and all of the religious memorabilia, if you will, the religious crucifixes and things like that, and ensuring that they're handled appropriately. So for some it would be giving to another entity, for some it would be in the archives that we're still trying to find where we're going to place our archives for the future. So I think that's one thing. You know, I don't know what Washington University's plans are for the buildings. I do know that they've said our buildings are beautiful, they like the footprint of the campus, but they, I believe, said in their media statement that at this time they didn't have real plans because this came about very quickly, which I understand that. So I don't know what their plans are. I'm sorry. Sure. Questions? Anything else? Well, I want to thank all of you for coming and for how kind you were in your questioning. And if you have other factual information that you need in the near future, I, as you can imagine, have a pretty busy schedule this week, but I will do my very best to be responsive. And I believe also Robin Frankel with Rev is someone that you could reach out to if you have questions, because she would funnel those to me or be able to respond as well. Does that seem reasonable? Okay. All right.